Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 13 of our TCW Save and TW 2020. This is our War to Settle the Score preview. And just as a quick note, I say this in all the previews, but the reason we do these, if you followed the series as it's ongoing, you don't really have to watch these episodes. I know that's a terrible thing to say for someone who's trying to get people to watch their episodes, but you don't really have to watch the preview episodes. These are more for, let's say we get 100 episodes into the series. It's much easier for people to catch up on the series by just watching the previews and watching the pay-per-views than having to maybe necessarily go through every single show. Some people do, and that's great. I've seen a lot of people do that in the WWE series, which is over 100 episodes now. But there have also been people who've been like, hey, we just kind of caught up by watching the previews and watching the pay-per-views, and that gets you kind of filled in on what the storylines are heading into these shows. So that's how we do these quick previews. So if you've been keeping up with things, if you want to watch this, hey, great. If you don't, you can certainly skip it because not a lot of new information, although you will see some interesting stuff, what's going on in the game world. I'll kind of bring that up here in just a second. But let's talk about the War to Settle the Score, our second pay-per-view in our TCW series, and we'll get to the headliner here in just a minute. But we are going to have a singles match here. Joshua Taylor is going to take on Bart Biggins. As we've talked about, this is kind of Clash of Champions style with how we're doing some of our pay-per-views. And this is one where we're adding a match to the mix here. Joshua Taylor, we know, has been on a winning streak. Bart Biggins, someone who was supposed to have a match with Jay Cord. Jay Cord turned it down, and so Bart Biggins really hasn't wrestled frequently at all here over the past several weeks. And so he'll step back into the ring to see if he can be the person that slows down Joshua Taylor, who, again, has been on kind of a tear here since his loss to Aaron Andrews at Psycho Circus. So that's a singles match we've added to the card. Another match we've added to the card that we haven't really announced is going to be a tag team match. Rich and Famous, Jackpot, Jordan, Jake Idol, they are going to team up once again as they are going to take on the team of Dean Daniels and Elliot Thomas. So, yes, if you thought Elliot Thomas coming off of the the main events against Wolf Hawkins on Total Wrestling was going to all of a sudden be pushed into the main events, he's teaming with Dean Daniels here again. That's kind of been a makeshift team we've used there with those two. They're going to take on Rich and Famous here in tag team action on the pay-per-view. Again, Rich and Famous new to the scene. Their first match was against our tag team champions, Mighty Meaty. Came up short, but we'll see if they can get their first win in TCW as they take on Daniels and Thomas there. So those are the two added to the mix that we have not kind of promoted beforehand. The ones we have promoted beforehand, the tag team championships are on the line. A rematch from Malice in Wonderland, where Mighty Meaty, Mighty Mo, and Tana won the tag team championships there from the Behemoths, Killer Shark, and Titan. It is a rematch, as Eddie Peak asked for it. Mighty Meaty was not going to deny the rematch. They're up to fight anyone, as they've said. And so that's what we'll get here. Another matchup between the Meat and the Behemoths here in this one. And like I joked in the comments, so I had added a segment, I guess you could say, a segment to the Go Home edition of Total Wrestling. I added a segment at the end. That was like the last segment I added before I did the show. But I guess whenever I exited out, I didn't save it because, as I say, I don't do the autosave because I've just had too many technical issues before and all that kind of stuff. And so I just apparently did not save after I put that segment in. So it was just a video package kind of highlighting, the feud between these two over the past couple months. So it really wasn't anything much of note there. But did want to let you guys know we did have something. We just apparently didn't get added to the show. So that will be our tag team match. Should be a wild brawl in that one. All right, we've got Jay Cord, who, as we know, looking at sort of the situation with everything with him, he said he will not wrestle until he gets, the competition he deserves because he feels like he should be wrestling for the TCW World Heavyweight Championship right now, and he's not getting that. So he has kind of stayed out of the ring the past several weeks, refusing matches, as we said, against Bart Biggins, perhaps against others. And now he is going to, we think, not made official yet, we think he's going to take on the returning Human Arsenal, John Anderson, who made his return on the Go Home edition of Total Wrestling. Came out, teamed with Edd Stone. They got a win in tag team action against Freddy Huggins and Matt Hawking. But we had Arsenal come out and just sort of say, hey, he's tired of the disrespect. It's the oldest guy in the locker room, as the locker room leader, veteran, whatever you want to use. He's tired of hearing Jay Cord run his mouth, basically calling him a young punk and all those other stuff. So that's kind of what we get as the setup here, and that Jay Cord's going to, if he wants to fight competition, he's going to step in the ring with someone who's been fighting more competition than anybody else for 2 decades now. So that's kind of your setup here, and we'll see if Jay Cord officially accepts the match, but as of right now, hasn't officially accepted it. We'll see what happens with this one. All right, we also have the debut pay-per-view, actually our debut period in TCW for Ernest Youngman, who has been kind of, peering in the crowd for different reasons, we assume. And now he will officially step into the ring for the first time in a match, and he will take on Flying Jimmy Fox. That's been built up out of Youngman making his official appearance for the first time at Malice in Wonderland, and he was kind of watching Fox and Benson. Since then, it's escalated to where Ernest Youngman's used the hit on Benny Benson, gotten in the business here. And so Benson not ready to compete just yet, so it's going to be his partner, Flying Jimmy Fox, who's going to go one-on-one with Ernest Youngman. So an interesting setup here leading into that one. And again, big match for Ernest Youngman in his first one here in TCW. All right, a grudge match. It's going to be Freddy Huggins against Edd Stone. We know Freddy has not been shy about being on the mic here heading into this pay-per-view. He's called out everyone. We know he keeps taunting our world champion Aaron Andrews, but Edd Stone made his triumphant return at Malice in Wonderland, beat Matt Hawking there, and we've had the back and forth between these two since. So the two former partners here are going to square off once again in singles action, and Edd Stone's been on a roll since he made his return, but Freddy Huggins, who is trying to get more revenge after, again, they lost the tag team match against Stone and Arsenal on the Go Home show. So can Freddy Huggins get a win over Edd Stone with these two just dueling back and forth? Been going on ever since they broke up as tag team partners several years ago. They're back once again here for another match. So we'll see who comes out on top in that one. We've got the TV championship match. Yes, we officially, as we said, we caved on the TV title match. We are going to have Greg Gage defending it on a pay-per-view, not just on the television show, as he will have a rematch against Dazzling Dave Diamond. This comes off the heels of the countout, where Greg Gage basically intentionally got himself counted out after it looked like Dazzling Dave was about to win the championship from him. Gage gets counted out, basically to live to fight another day was kind of the motto there for him. And so Gage gets counted out, but the stipulation now has been added in. We know from the TCW matchmakers that it is going to be a match where if Greg Gage gets counted out or disqualified, he will lose the TV championship to Dazzling Dave. So that's your setup here. Dazzling Dave trying to get back in gold because he has had gold before as the former international champion. And so we'll see what happens here in the rematch. And remember, these two had great chemistry, which shocked us because I think you look at these two and I just did not think they would have any chemistry whatsoever. But they do, and so we'll see if they can pull off a better match than they had the first time, which was a pretty good one and surprised us all. So that is the setup for that one. And then, of course, it is our main event on the pay-per-view, our 5-on-5 Cage Wars, as it will be the team of Aaron Andrews, Sammy Bach, T-Bone Bright, One Man Army, and Chance Fortune taking on the Syndicate led by Wolf Hawkins. And that is your main event, Cage Wars. Now, I will tell you right now, when I did the pre-booking, and you guys probably could have guessed this because you've probably had similar issues before in other companies and such, but the issue was the actual Cage Wars as it was presented in the match choices had too much of a high risk, and so our audience was not going to go for that. So we just did a clone of the match, and we took it down a notch, right? Well, then we got the note that One Man Army refused to participate in a match with that much risk because, I don't remember what the reason was. Something about his age or injury, I have no idea. But so essentially we just had to take the risk level down a little bit on this match and kind of clone a 5-on-5 Cage Wars with a little bit less risk. So it is what it is. We'd already set the match. We certainly weren't going to change it now. But, it's always one of those things I just kind of forget about. But we can clone the match and make it work anyway. So, that's how it's going to be here. But we know, again, the setup leading to all this, and we can kind of look at the storylines for this one. To be honest with you, I haven't updated the storylines as well as I probably should, but it's fine. So we do have an 80 heat kind of going for this one, and, this has all really been, again, based around what the Syndicate did to Aaron Andrews, kept him out of action. And yes, you will get an update on Aaron Andrews' availability for this match. As you can probably guess, he's going to be cleared before the match. We'll have a segment, I think, that will probably answer that quite well. But so, based around the Syndicate's attack on Aaron Andrews, have kept him out of action for over a month with just the brutal attack they had on him. And then, from there, it's just been the back and forth, which ultimately led to, the TCW powers that be saying that neither team could touch each other leading into the match, which has made for some interesting situations where if anyone touches the other, initiates the contact, they lose that spot in Cage Wars, but didn't happen. We had the 5-on-5, but we did have Daryl Devine kind of getting a little bit of revenge after he was the one that was handcuffed weeks ago on Total Wrestling, taken out by the Syndicate, and, just a lot of stuff there. We had Aaron Andrews being essentially taken away in the car, and we just don't know who's driving. We know Aaron Andrews said he remembers the voice. That's all we know. A lot of stuff to get to this big match, and the heat and tension has intensified with these 5 because, my goodness, there's been a lot of stuff before, and then we kind of had the battle lines drawn there on the Go Home show where these 5 just kind of standing in front of each other, knowing they can't lay their hands on each other until they are inside the cage at the pay-per-view. So there are your 8 matches currently listed for the card. I'll let you know if we add any more. As of right now, that's what I'm going with. We may add another one in there somewhere kind of as an undercard match, but I don't think so. I think this will probably be the pretty clear one here, although there is one I'm considering that we may add to the mix. But for now, that is your card for the War to Settle the Score. If you want to know some other stuff quickly, here you can see that USPW, the biggest promotion in the world, held its pay-per-view at an 82, held in Puerto Rico here. A lot of viewers there, 11, 12 million almost. So a sellout crowd there, and you can see kind of a lot of stuff on this card. Rich Money defeats Rick Law to retain the USPW World Heavyweight Championship. That's your main event for that one. So you can see with that, USPW Lifeblood, they've kind of had that show. I don't remember if we even brought up that they've had it to the mix. The SWF Elite show, we may have talked about that, but you can see kind of what happened here on the Elite show that SWF has. A lot of interesting stuff going on in the game world, and we'll touch more on that after the pay-per-view as we'll look at our State of TCW for March, which we do at the end of each month. We do kind of a State of TCW in the game world and all that. So we'll look at that after the pay-per-view. But for now, as I said, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we are officially almost to the War to Settle the Score. The score will be settled, or will it? We'll find out. And by the way, too, just a quick note, I've been teasing, eventually starting a save with Raw, which was one of the top vote getters when we did the poll on which C-Verse company I should choose for a save. TCW ultimately won out, but Raw was not that far behind, and I told you guys I had an idea for the Raw series to make it very unique. Well, that is almost ready to come to fruition, and so I'm just going to leave that teaser there. I've come up with kind of how we're going to do it, and I'm just going to tell you right now, it will be unlike anything we have done on the channel before when it comes to this Raw save. But if you keep in mind what Raw is and what the company is, you will understand why we're going to go the direction we're going to go in. With that promotion, I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And no, I haven't forgot about the WWE AEW saves. By the way, I know everyone has sort of asked about that as well. I'm just in a C-Verse groove right now. I promise we will be getting back to the WWE and AEW saves. There's a lot of episodes there if you want to check out the backlog. But just kind of letting you know, the C-Verse is really speaking to me right now, and we will have new episodes of the WWE and AEW saves coming soon. And another real-world save that I look back, and I'm pretty sure I recorded the debut episode for this series over a month ago, but we just haven't released it yet because I want to make sure I kind of get a couple more episodes ready before I do that. So a lot of stuff in the works here on the channel. Appreciate you guys as always. And on the next episode of our TCW Save, it will be the War to Settle the Score.